It's a penultimate issue of Absolute Carnage. This series is doing really well in comic shops. Beautiful art by Ryan Stegman, fan favorite Donny Cates. How does this issue, the final issue before the final issue, hold up? Hey, this is Perch doing a review of Absolute Carnage number 4 here by Marvel. This has been a really big seller. Right out the gate, let me just say if you are new to this channel, haven't heard about it, would appreciate subscribe. I'm not monetizing, so it's not about cash. It helps build the credibility of the channel and what I'm doing here, and really always appreciate a subscribe if you wouldn't mind. You haven't done it yet, go for it. I would recommend against the notifications, to be honest. I find those super annoying, but maybe they're useful to you. Whatever. You say click the bell for notifications. That's just awful. Anyway, getting into the actual issue here. This has been, for lack of a better word, kind of a summer event comic, even though it's coming in the fall. It's had the feel of a summer event, meaning it's more action. It's definitely, if you've been reading the Hickman X-Men stuff and you're like, this has got way too many words, then this is the comic, this is the series for you. It still has plenty of words. I'm not saying it's plotless. In fact, if you go through the pages, you've got lots and lots of text bubbles here. So people are talking, but it's also, it's driving toward action. That is what is going on. So basic backstory to this issue, Cletus Cassidy has been kind of, I don't know, resurrected from the dead, if you will, or it's hard to tell kind of his life status anymore, but he's bonded with the Grindel. It is basically this big kind of alien symbiote god, for lack of, I don't feel like I'm describing this well. It would take a whole video just to do it. Anyway, the codices have been left in a number of different hosts. So everybody who has ever worn a symbiote, and in the Marvel Universe, that's most of the characters, have had this codice in their body at some point. So this plot is basically Cletus is going around with the Grindel, and they're trying to extract those codices from the hosts, the people who had them, so that Carnage he can grow stronger and basically transcend to godlike state. And they found a way to remove the codices from the heroes. Eddie Brock is desperately fighting this off, but in the last issue, the Venom host that had bonded with him left him because he was not strong enough. Said it was too weak, and bonded with the Hulk, the immortal Hulk. So now we're opening right in with Hulk, Venom, Smash, Carnage. So anyway, big battles going on. Venom's trying to get his kid and Osborn's kid to safety. He's leaving them with Spider-Man, knowing that Spider-Man will do a good job protecting them. And it's really critical that they are protected. There's reasons back in the back. Anyway, so Venom grabs he's like, hey, here's a bunch of tech. We see a bunch of gear. He grabs it. He's going to go out and join in the fight and try and help ward off some of Carnage's legion of kind of Carnage zombies, if you will. He's got an entire room full of guns and all kinds of stuff, but he goes with kind of a blast gauntlet and Captain America's shield for some reason. He doesn't put on any of the body armor that you kind of see in the background there, but I'm sure that's fine. He's got his jacket. Anyway, off he goes, and he just starts swinging the shield and knocking people out, and he immediately runs into Miles Venom. Miles was consumed by, or Miles Carnage, I should say, consumed by the symbiote, and is now kind of running amok, has grown some extra arms. The odd part about that is that, unless I'm crazy, in the Miles Morales Spider-Man Absolute Carnage, he found a way to control some of that symbiote. So, but now he's back to kind of being a snarling monster. All right, it's fine. It really does feel like a 90s event where there's plots that happen in the crossover issues that don't make their way into the main title, and you're like, you're not reading all this stuff anyway. It'll be fine. Yeah, I'm sure. So, meanwhile, basically Hulk leapt at Venom and started to smash, but in relatively short order, Carnage just goes right in there, tunnels into his brain, kind of infects the Carnage Hulk, and that big plan seems like it's going sideways very quickly. Meanwhile, Eddie's a bit smarter here. He uses the kind of electrical venom blast. That's why he grabbed the gauntlet, which makes sense. Why he didn't grab more body armor is confusing to me, but it's easy to get hung up on things, and you can't let it go. I try. So he uses the venom blast, uses the electricity to basically nuke the Carnage symbiote off of Miles Morales, thereby freeing him. He's like, "Did I hurt anyone? What happened?" Again, this all makes sense as a narrative if you've only been reading the Absolute Carnage series, but if you were dipping into limited series, this whole scene is quite confusing in terms of continuity. But I'm sure, as Tom Brevoort would say, it all makes sense if I just read more of the comics. I'm sure that's true. Why not? Anyway, Miles is like, "Hey, this is bad. You wait a minute. If he gets Venom, that's really, really bad. He'll get super strong and he'll be unstoppable." And then we see exactly that. Carnage has tunneled into the Hulk's brain, and Hulk is not the kind of immortal Hulk. He's just kind of dumb, old school Hulk. They tunnel into the brain, easily subdue him, rip the symbiote off of Bruce Banner, and fuses it into himself, and we've got Megadeth Carnage with some big old horns and his spine there, and he is like, I am doing really well. So he's about to go in and just kind of murderize Brock. Doesn't really need to at this point. Brock doesn't have a symbiote now, and I mean, who cares? So, but the heroes arrive. Here's Captain America, and here's Wolverine, and the Thing, and Cap gets his shield back, and they immediately go into action trying to fight Super Carnage, and Metallica Carnage is basically holding them off quite well. Meanwhile, Miles reminds Eddie that as they've been pulling the codices off the heroes and putting them into a big vat, the maker Evil Reed Richards was not destroying them but collecting them for nefarious reasons. He's done a bunk, so he's gone. And Eddie realizes that there's a bunch of codices, venom goo in the big metal vat that he can go get. And meanwhile, AC/DC Carnage is just beating the hell out of Cap. Cap's got his costume here. This isn't current Cap, the Cap that's hanging out with the Daughters of Liberty and sulking much. Eddie, Venomless, kind of punches his way to the vat. Slayer Carnage does away with the heroes, and he's coming to get him. And meanwhile, down in the basement, some Venom creatures who have bonded, I keep saying Venom, Carnage creatures. It's just too much nonsense. The Carnage symbiote that's bonded with Norman Osborn, who thinks he's Cletus Cassidy, which again doesn't necessarily correspond to the other tie-in issues, but why not? He comes in to fight Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like, "Not this far, Osborn, not an inch more." Eddie goes to the big vat of goo. Pantera Carnage has some wings, and he flies at Eddie, but Eddie, basically punches out the symbiote goo. He bonds with it. It's like, this is the symbiote goo that came off the heroes, so it's got special hero magic. It makes a new kind of venom around him. He can hear the voices of Captain America and Wolverine and Hawkeye's diamond scalpel eyes. Not the same eyes that threatened his wife with a gun, apparently, but just in comics continuity, Hawkeye. Sure. And then Eddie is something new, something better, and he is turned into kind of his own super metal Venom. And for whatever reason, he then flies off. Carnage is now flying away because he's got a god to awaken. Eddie, as new Venom, is in hot pursuit. So we basically, to lay it all out here, we've got heavy metal Carnage, who's bonded with old Venom and a bunch of the codices, flying up to awaken the god as kind of a Grendel host. And Eddie Brock, new Venom from the symbiote codices taken from heroes, is chasing after him with his own set of wings and kind of yellow stuff. That's probably some just remnants of Wolverine's costume that's there, and they're flying off into the sky. So that's the issue. That's what we've got. That's hard to explain. Anyway, is this a good comic? I don't do reviews of bad comics, or I try not to, because I think that leads down the path of dark side temptation. But this comic, I guess one thing that makes this comic less enjoyable to me anyway, is that the hype around it before this issue, this fourth issue came out, people are like, "Oh, your bodies aren't ready for this. Oh my God, such a shocking, so many shocks here." And as you're reading it, I'd like to listen to the people who were shocked in here. I mean, there's a fine story. It went from point A to point B, basically fighting around the warehouse. Hulk Venom disarmed. Eddie finds new Venom. New Venom fight Carnage with old Venom. I mean, it's a fight comic, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not like there was shocking twists here. It was a good old kind of, early 90s style brawl of creatures with horns and things and attacking them. Perfectly readable comic, just fine, decent Venom tale. But I mean, you're not coming to this for, I don't know. I think your body is ready. I guess I'll just put it that way. Your body is ready for this comic. It's there. It's ready. It's all good. You'll be fine. What do you think? Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of this issue. Did you like it? Are you loving this? Interesting juxtaposition between what Hickman's doing with X-Men, what Donny Cates is doing here with Venom. Both fine in their own right. Both completely different storytelling styles and methods, and it does what it does. So. Oh, but there is one more thing. Ryan Stegman, his art is absolutely gorgeous here. It is very well done. He puts a lot of detail. It's really nice. I feel like in some cases in this comic, and this is not a shot at Frank Martin. I think Frank Martin, the colorist, is he's done a really good job with a lot of other things. So no complaints there. But at times, this comic, and maybe it was the way it was printed or something, there's some dynamic things going on, some rain, some darkness, some fire, but the colors get very muddled. And in some cases, you have backgrounds that feel very washed out. It's like something didn't quite go right somewhere in this comic. But I think you can't blame the colorist because Frank Martin does just quite a good job in other places. But Ryan Stegman is absolutely a star. He's doing some pretty amazing work. And if you remember Greg Capullo and kind of his rise in comics, it's very reminiscent to that kind of doing some real superstar work. And at some point, Stegman gets to be, I think, a pretty big person in comics. He's already definitely a superstar here. He's as much as Donny Cates is a fan favorite. I think Stegman is he's leading the show here because the art is absolutely brilliant. And we're going to see some big things come out of him, either Marvel or the Indies, or I guarantee some people are talking about snapping him up. So yeah, absolutely wonderful art, just gorgeous. Can't say enough good things about it, and good inking as well. So all good. Hey, what did you think of this issue? What do you like? Do you like the more kind of thoughtful storytelling method, the more kind of 90s beat 'em up method, a little of both? Leave me a comment below. Like I mentioned before, subscriptions are great. Would really appreciate it. Likes are also good. And always interested in your feedback. Follow me at Twitter at Comic Perch. And thanks for listening.